Welcome to the Law Shit You Should Know podcast. We're here to talk a little bit about the law
and a whole lot about nothing. Every week, we have a new guest to discuss current events, legal drama, and dive even deeper into
the Law Shit You Should Know. Thank you for coming. So why don't you tell our audience who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff before we get going.
Local Miami attorney. Been here practicing my whole life, going on 13 years now in September. I practice primarily family law with some complex civil litigation mixed in. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what I do.
Cool.
FIU here, all the undergrad, all the high school, everyone in Miami.
Florida born and bred.
That's right.
Where were you born? What hospital?
South Miami.
Me too.
There's a funny story. I was fishing on a levee with a bunch of friends, and we got stopped by Border Patrol. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Because people come into those canals and dump people off. And the guy comes up to me and he goes, so where were you born? And I was like, here in Miami. He's like, yeah, but what hospital? I was like, I don't know, Jacksonville? Yeah. And that still hasn't gone away. Yeah,
straight to Chrome. Straight to Chrome.
Needlessly
suspicious. Tú tienes cara de inmigrante. Like, for sure.
Jesus. Cara de inmigrante. That's so funny. No, yeah, I was born in South Miami Hospital too. Where'd you go to high school?
Coral Park, and then my last year I went to Braddock.
Ah, Coral Park. My sister worked at Coral Park like her whole life. She was a treasurer.
Cool.
Do you know the treasurer of Coral Park?
Absolutely not.
No.
Why? Do you owe money? Do you owe money to the?
She's the one. School? She would fight with everyone. Didn't pay their dues and shit.
That's right. Didn't turn in her library books.
Library books. And didn't pay for graduation and the field trips and all that fun shit. She had to fight with people over money.
One of the people I went to school with is actually the
This is a very Miami podcast right here.
What are the people? Sorry, what Leslie interrupted?
Aramis. He's the band director at Coral Park. I went to school with him.
Were you a band nerd, Padrón?
Absolutely.
No.
What did you play? What instrument did you play?
Tenor saxophone, alto, and bari. I also played the oboe.
That's not a real instrument.
The oboe? That's the one you get the most scholarships for. It sounds like it goes...
She said that's not a real instrument.
Do it. Do it. You were about to sing for us the sound of the oboe.
The oboe sounds like... It sounds like a little like a duck. It's not really a pleasant sound. I don't know why people like it, but it's very, very sought after. That and the bassoon, you know, those.
It's very sought after.
Yeah, because nobody wants to play that instrument, really. Everyone wants something like sexy, like a saxophone or
the ugly duckling of the band.
Something, you know.
I learned something new. I've known this man forever, but I've learned something new today.
That's because he's here at Law Shit You Should Know. So anyways, moving right along. Thank you for sharing. Yes, so you said family law. So what kind of stuff in family law, what does that mean for people? What kind of cases do you handle?
Divorce. These days, paternity. A lot of people are not getting married, right? So nobody gets married, they just have kids. So what happens when you split?
For the audience, explain that, because paternity is for when you're not married, but you have a kid.
That's right.
And
so
baby mama, baby daddy, that kind of fun stuff.
Let's
and you want to establish your rights.
That's right. Your time sharing, child support, all that stuff is usually part of every family law case. But paternity is what we're seeing more.
And there's like responsible adults that want this.
I mean, the law presumes it. Right?
Get cute. Adorable.
No. I mean, you get good people just at their worst. Like you're fighting about everything that you've acquired during the last number of years, and not only that, seeing your kids and then the eternal battle is between men and women. Men generally don't want to pay for anything. They don't think things cost money, and women typically don't want to give you the kids. They don't ever want to. Only I could do it because I've done it all throughout the entirety of marriage.
I think that's a very 1950s version of a relationship, Chris. Not gonna lie.
It's what I see day in and day out.
If I ever have kids, you can have them.
That's what I tell my wife. I'm like, listen, you signed up for this, right? You get them half the time. So
you can have all the time, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, no.
The only thing I'm fleeing with is my dogs.
I was like, Elina wants child support, but no kids. Like, no taking care of the kids.
That sounds excellent. Can I get child support with no kids?
Without any time sharing?
I think they call it alimony.
Well, you can talk about that too if you want. Alimony changed last year, so the law got revised.
Did it really? Yeah. Let's talk about that. That's a good topic. What happened with alimony? So, what is alimony for anybody who doesn't know and is listening to us?
Alimony, the principle of alimony. Alimony was based on the concept or the theory of economic partnership. So when you come to a marriage or you come to a relationship, it has to be a marriage in Florida. Mm-hmm. We don't have common law a marriage here in Florida. That's against public policy. We don't recognize it. So if you start living in with your girlfriend and saying, hey, we're married, you're not married.
Right. No, that's good. That's a good point. So for anybody listening not in Florida, it's when you default become married just from being together for so long. So,
so in Florida, you have to get married, and to get married, you gotta sign your marriage certificate, and there has to be
go to the courthouse,
ceremony,
and pay the dues, and
indeed. And
I mean, but this is like you actually have to go to the courthouse, people.
Yes.
Okay, like this is not your babalao on the side married you,
correct,
and then like you're married. No, like,
I mean you're married there too, just not legally.
Yes, you have to be legally married in the state of Florida, and then
the commitment ceremony on the beach. The commitment ceremony on the beach is not enough.
This comes up a little bit in probate. Ese era mi esposo, and then no era el esposo.
I see more in Hispanic people quite a bit.
Oh, you don't say.
Really, y'all? I'm an immigration attorney. Let me tell you how many people I got to tell they got to get divorced, or they've already committed bigamy, or they think they're divorced when they're not divorced, or they got divorced in another country that had no jurisdiction. This is my life every fucking day. Anyway, sorry.
And if you get divorced over there, it has to be something they recognize here.
100%.
It has to be not against public policy.
100%. So then you get to Elina, and she tells you can't do immigration papers.
Wait. What is a divorce against public policy?
Divorces by proxy, for example, in Dominican Republic, you can just
al vapor.
Como que
Divorcio al vapor.
¿Qué?
Yeah. For anyone listening, that literally means divorce by vapor.
I mean,
divorcio al vapor.
What does that mean? Like, what does it actually mean?
It means by proxy.
By proxy, you hire an attorney, they follow up paperwork, they go to court, you never see a judge, you just get your paperwork in the mail, right?
That's it.
Are you divorced?
Yeah.
Was my spouse notified? Did they show up to court? Did they?
Sometimes.
Maybe potentially. Depends.
It depends.
Okay. Allegedly they were.
No.
I've litigated quite a bit of these cases, and notice is a big deal. If you don't have notice, right, or you were not afforded notice,
you have to prove notice in that country. ¿Tú estás loco?
No, it's not that hard. I did one in Colombia. In Colombia, before you get married, you have to get notice of a mediation. And then you go to the mediation, and then you start your proceedings for divorce. Before you do anything.
Okay.
Una conciliación is what they call it.
Oh.
International
it's like
divorce.
Counseling and shit.
Oh, qué lindo.
You can't work this shit out.
So you get married, right? And then the Florida statute is 61.08, and it's need and ability. It has a lot of factors, and if you got enough time and money, you can go through those factors, but by and large,
if you got enough time and money for your lawyer to go through those facts.
Yes, it's the facts.
No, but wait, before you keep going, this al vapor, I don't want to let this go yet. They call it al vapor in DR. That's specifically the DR term. But this concept exists in all kinds of countries. It's not just in DR. That just happens to be the name, and it's just so funny that that's what I call all of them. But it's divorce by proxy, right? And the issue is, it's a jurisdictional issue, is what ends up happening. Do they actually have jurisdiction over you if you're not living there? And if the other spouse is not living there either, which is why I get to ding people all the time that they got divorced, but they're not really divorced because the court had no jurisdiction over them when they got divorced.
There's a way around it, though.
Sure.
The Florida statute has registration, so if you registered and they don't object within 45 days, you follow that statutory procedure.
Register for what?
A divorce.
Oh.
So it becomes a full force in effect. The better way of doing it is to file an action in family court to domesticate that judgment.
But that doesn't solve your problem if you've gone off and been remarried, because now that registration is the proper date for Florida and not the date of your remarriage. So I get to tell people all the time that they're bigamist without knowing that they are bigamist because their divorce was not properly done. They're not actually divorced, or they registered it too late and then they went off and married someone else. And now I have to send them to get an annulment, which I'm sure you also handle, and then get remarried and then have to explain this all to immigration when we do immigration.
Fun times.
Of humor.
Fun times.
No sense of humor whatsoever.
So there's also the best way to do it is through an action, because at that point you have a judge that hears everything and you could write in your judgment the specific findings that you want. But generally speaking, the divorces are adopted through comedy, right? Not through a specific like you have the full faith and credit of the other sister states, so you can domesticate those with the registration. But if you have a foreign judgment, you kind of want all those issues ironed out in your judgment. If they had notice, if they didn't have notice, if they waived the notice. Because a lot of times people don't really care if they've already separated and they already got their stuff separated, right? They just want it here, so that they're not bigamous.
Yeah, and a bunch of the divorces, that there will be requirements in some of the foreign countries that they don't have to hit all the topics we have to hit. So there'll be like no provision for child support, or no provision for time sharing, or no provision for division of assets. It's like, you're divorced, ta-da! Like, and
It's true.
And you're at a complete loss as to what to do next.
So going back to the alimony. So need and ability. There's a multitude of factors, but generally speaking, like I said, when I said earlier, unless you have an attorney and you have a lot of assets, there's you don't really get to those factors, right? It's just need and ability for the majority of people with a house and, some kids, not 20 properties, 2 corporations, and those people are definitely going to deal with all the little factors, standard of life. You need a vocational expert, a lifestyle expert. You need
a lifestyle expert.
That's true.
Oh, so how do you become a lifestyle expert?
Some people are just born.
Wow.
It's a real job.
It's a real job. Again, you got to qualify them. Again, the family, unfortunately.
Job.
Most people don't.
This is an Instagram job, I feel.
Well, again.
He's like, well, they're the best ones to testify.
Generally, sociologists and different people that study and do studies and are published. You got to Daubert them. Most people don't challenge them on Daubert, which I love to do. Because sounds made up, right?
A lifestyle expert. How many Louis Vuittons should you buy in 1 year? Like,
right? It's like that. How many vacations? How many? How
I'd
many
be
different things?
fucked.
Yeah. How much money do they spend on clothes and outings and eating out and nannies and
you're gonna owe pledge
agreements, right? La nana, like they do.
Nope. I don't owe pledge agreements. Nothing.
She takes him on a lot of vacations. He buys a lot of Louis Vuitton.
Pledge agreements is her nickname for my husband.
Yes.
I'm sure you're very confused. His actual name is Jonathan.
His actual name is Jonathan.
My husband's name is Jonathan. She calls him pledge agreements. There's a long story there.
He was my opposing counsel. We had a pledge agreements case way back in the day.
Leslie and my husband have actually known each other longer than I've known either one of them.
Nice.
Because Miami is teeny tiny.
My condolences.
But Elina keeps him very well maintained.
Right, wow.
Yeah.
A sugar mama, that's also an increasing trend.
Yes,
well.
Is
it's
it?
Coming a lot.
I would not self-describe as a sugar mama.
Right. A boss babe.
Boss babe.
Right.
Oh, Chris, we're not doing well, you and
like
I.
That? Do you like that?
We're not doing well.
He said you a boss babe.
Hashtag boss babe.
The times have changed, man.
He says, I am equal opportunity.
That's right, man.
He's like, I don't judge.
And going back to family, that's what the law is.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, my
presumed
husband and I did a really fun role reversal, I think, at some point in our lives. When we met, it wasn't that way. We were a lot more...
He was my opposing counsel at Greenberg Troy.
Yes.
Okay.
My husband was at Big
On
Law.
a case that lasted almost 4 years.
That's a long time.
Yes,
a lot of meeting confers.
Big Law, big commercial lit.
A lot of federal court. Then we got kicked off of Moreno's calendar to Graham's calendar. It was never going to end.
But life has a funny way of evolving. Actually, I think we'd be a fascinating case with a divorce. Right. Because we started out with him making all the money.
Yeah.
And now we've definitely evolved to him being, almost full-time house husband and deals with a lot of stuff in our house. I mean, nothing would get done in my house if it wasn't for him. I haven't washed a dish in like 4 years. Wow. But
That's nice. Okay.
Yes.
But he's germaphobe and he keeps our house pretty spotless.
I've been accused of being the cleaning Nazi because the thing is, again, I like the house clean and orderly, and my wife doesn't quite care so much. It doesn't bother her as much as it bothers me.
The orderly part bothers me. The clean part, that's all him. And we have like old Cuban grandma moppo in the corner of the house. Like it's like our floors get mopped every day. Like my floors get mopped. I have 2 dogs. Right. You could lick those dogs. They're cleaner than I am. Okay, they get baby wiped multiple times a day. My dog's paws are pristine. Those animals smell like babies.
What dogs do you have?
I have little dachshunds, little hot dogs.
I have an abomination. I have a Frenchie.
I have an abomination. They are ugly.
They're not ugly.
Ugly dogs.
Oh,
anyway,
don't hate
we're
us.
off topic.
All hate mail to Leslie at.
Come at me. Come at me. I heard they're expensive as fuck.
At me,
number
bro.
one. Para una cosa tan fea. No sé.
Dejan feas, son lindos.
This is like Mark Anthony, tan feo que está lindo. No, bro, no, that doesn't work for him or the dog.
My apologies to Mark Anthony.
Apologies to those that love Mark Anthony.
So listen, we brought up a great topic though. Let's talk dogs.
Dogs?
So,
what?
I don't have kids.
Did we finish the alimony? No.
We're gonna come back to it. We're gonna come back to it. But we can't let go of the dogs. Because I have 2 dogs.
Right.
I know I'm not the only crazy dog lady out there. We have no kids. But if we were to get separated tomorrow, I can tell you right now, the biggest fight would be over these fucking dogs.
And the judge would not care one bit about your feelings.
But we would. Best interest of my dog, okay?
Nope.
The best interest of the dog.
I've written agreements, time-sharing agreements, but it's property. At the end of the day, the court's going to consider it a chattel, like a toaster, right?
Like a
My
toaster.
dogs are not toasters.
He said like a toaster.
Ouch.
100%. Like an old pair of shoes, and it's not worth as much as
all hate mail to Chris
info at padronforjudge.com.
Think about the premise, right? You got a dog. It's a used dog.
It's a used dog. It's not a new dog.
It's not new.
It's not a new dog.
And my dog's got back issues and shit.
Oh no, your dog is worth $5.
Right.
My dog is worth negative $5.
And you have to value it at market value.
What are you
So
kidding?
what is the market value of somebody's adored
used
family
dog?
pet, right? Like, how much would you pay for somebody's 4-year-old, 5-year-old dog? Like,
my dogs are 10 and 15.
right.
Coño.
In that case, you would have to pay me
You
to take
have a debt. That dog is a debt. That dog is.
Well, can we discount it from the alimony? No. Full circle.
Well, there's actually points in different places where you can fight about the dogs in different.
Let's talk about it. Tell me.
So
Let me take some notes here.
In domestic violence, if it's registered as a service animal, you cannot award possession of the dog. The person that has the registration gets
My dogs are service animals.
Wait. Explica esto. Hold on. In domestic violence, so Des beats you up, and then who wants to say something about the dog?
So say Des beats me up,
Yeah.
and I want to keep the dogs, and the court can give me the
Is
dogs.
Des your spouse? Because I don't know what's happening here. Okay.
and then after that, if I have it registered as my service animal, the court cannot take that animal from me.
Oh.
So there's
but
no
everybody registers
nuances.
these fucking dogs as service animals. It's all bullshit. Does the
And-
court actually look at
What
whether
bullshit?
it is a
That's not
service
bullshit.
animal?
The case that we did, really, the judge didn't care. She's like, who owns this dog?
Who
Like,
owns this dog?
It's not a declaratory judgment. This is a temporary kind of stay away from people, right? So we had to remind the judge that she couldn't do that. But nonetheless, it's a point. It's a complicated thing. And the judges really don't deal with it often enough to kind of know about it, right?
Let me tell you that not only are my dogs, one of them's an emotional support animal, the other one's a service dog,
Look at this.
and they're both registered under Santana. Ain't no Rodriguez in the paperwork for these animals. Let me be really clear who paid these adoption fees. Let me be really clear whose credit card pays these vet bills. Okay, so those dogs are mine. I'm just saying.
And a lot of times we'll turn on facts like that because there's no documents of title for a dog. Like, what do you look for?
He ain't getting the dog.
Wait. My grandmother has a Russian Pomeranian.
Right.
Like, it came from Russia, and that fucking thing has a passport.
Yeah.
It has a fucking passport.
There you go.
I was like, what?
People
This dog is
spend-
more legit than I am.
Can we get a lifestyle specialist for the dog?
The dog costs a lot of money.
In certain
Has a
cases,
good
yes.
life. Has a
I've
good
been
life.
lying.
The dog has a good life.
We almost got brought in on a case for the fight about the dog, and then they ended up backing out because we gave them a ridiculous retainer.
Who's
told
we?
them, you and me.
You and me.
Yes, you
I
don't
was like,
remember.
who's we?
I was
Who's
all
we?
about fighting for this dog. I think it was a lobbyist that wanted. They were fighting about the dog.
Oh my god.
I
do.
remember.
Clearly, it was so memorable. Leslie remembers
Well, you know,
all of
I have
that.
Alzheimer's, guys. Hace
But
tiempo. Hace tiempo.
All right, full circle. First, so let's come back to alimony because I took us totally off track, which is fine. But alimony. All right, so alimony. So I get to keep the dogs, but then
Right.
I got to pay him.
Well, no, alimony.
Can we
is-
take into consideration the years that he spent supporting me
Yes,
before
you
I
can.
started supporting
You
his
can,
ass?
but before we get there, the dogs, right? The dogs will be more than likely treated as chattel.
Yes.
And if you can't agree who gets them, the dogs will have to be sold, right?
Right?
Or alternatively, right, the judge can give them to one or the other and then compensate the other side.
Right, give you the $5.
Yeah.
$5.
The bill, the vet bill.
And a lot of times it'll turn out who's the one that takes them to the doctor, who wipes their paws, who does that. So your husband may have a good argument.
He's at the vet with them right now.
Who takes them to the vet, right?
But I pay that vet bill.
That's fine.
Fucking little mutts.
All right. So back to the alimony. Alimony is need and ability
So-
is the primary factor.
Is alimony a totally separate analysis from any kind of equitable distribution? Like, do we
Right.
split up assets first and then still go, it doesn't matter that I got half the $10 million house. No, but I still need a lifestyle.
So family, the more you read
Still
about
need
it,
my Louis
I
Vuitton.
still need my 5.6 vacations to the Galapagos.
to the
Galapagos.
Wow.
I pay for that shit
She pays
myself.
for all this shit. She pays for all this shit.
To
To
see
the
the
Galapagos, like, I mean.
Listen, when you don't have children, you
Right.
get to live the life you want. I don't understand why more people don't get this concept.
So did you see You saw the iguanas running away from the snakes?
I did. I saw the giant tortoises. I saw the iguanas. I fucking snorkeled on a cliffside. I swam with sea lions, like in the wild. I have great video of them.
This is all the evidence against her in the alimony calculation. That she takes him on, $50,000 vacations like 4 times a year.
What's a trip to Africa?
No.
Safari is on the bucket list.
They went like piranha diving or something in Brazil. No, hold on, man.
I wouldn't get in that water. I wouldn't get in that water at all.
I'm a little bit of an adventure traveler, just a little bit.
But you should be careful because the Amazon has these catfish called kangaroo. They swim up your...
and then they...
And they open the little things, and then you have to get them surgically
You don't pee.
removed.
You can't pee in the water if you're a man.
people?
They don't affect women. They're only for men.
Terrible.
Right.
They swim up the urethra and then they get upset and they with the spines.
I won't be doing none of that.
From the inside out.
Don't put your hands in that water.
Fun fact you learned today from us. You see? Anyways, so back to the alimony. So you were telling me, right? She was asking.
The order. So there's an order to how you do the analysis.
Yeah.
First you do equitable distribution because again, that informs what the income's there. You need to figure out what the net incomes are to be able to figure out what the need is, right? So say, for example, you have $10 million and you have $5 million and I have $5 million. Well, I can assume that even if you put it in a CD, you're going to be generating at least 5% of that income.
They're going to impute income onto my assets.
Yes.
Oh.
Right. It affects your need. How are you going to have a need if you have $5 million?
Well, because I was taken to the Galapagos 5 times a year and I was bought 5 Louis Vuittons, Cartier. Well, hello, I have a need.
Dude,
well,
my husband's Louis Vuitton backpack is sick.
I know. Okay. I'm aware of his backpack collection.
He has a backpack collection.
Well, like Samantha Reese-Cohen told me,
man
can certainly try.
You can certainly try.
Case, right?
Judge Cohen, you can certainly try, Mr. Padrón.
Listen, it's hard. It's a hard sell. But again, you get situations. Again, it's based more on the need than anything else. Because the ability is obviously, if you have no ability, there's no case, right? But again, you have to establish what the need is, and that's where it gets mushy, right? And to add further insult, because everything in family is perpetual shades of gray, right? You should not be forced to diminish your equitable distribution in order to pay your attorney's fees, for example, which is also the same analysis, need and ability. So
you should not be forced to spend down your assets to pay for
your attorney, which is also a component of alimony and equitables, alimony and need and ability, that analysis.
So let's talk about ability, right? So I'm gonna keep using myself only because I think this is fascinating because we're a young couple, right? Like I'm 39, he's 40, like we're a young couple, and he is a former commercial big law litigator who made a hell of a lot more money than I did.
I need an associate.
Well, and where I was going to go is this is not the kind of we've been together 12 years. It's a long time, but it's not the kind of relationship where he couldn't go get a job tomorrow if he had to, right? So what factor does that ability to just go back to the workplace present for most couples?
That would be an argument you would make because again, imputation, you have to win an imputation argument. It's lost on a lot of attorneys. You think that it's just that he's not making that much money. He could be making more money. No, you have the right to work and not work, right? Yeah. And if the last 3 years of his marriage was, I'm not stay-at-home dad, then that's a problem, right? He's not going to be up to date with current litigation. He's not going to be up to speed. He's going to have a period of reintroduction, rehabilitation.
There are unlimited CLEs.
Yeah.
That he could take in about 3 months.
And then
they're free.
He's up to date.
Free on the Florida Bar website.
They're free on the Florida Bar website.
And they have a thing called rehabilitative alimony. You have to come up with a plan about how you're going to get back to that level.
She's going to pay for those free CLEs.
Nobody does the rehab. Nobody does the rehab. Everyone does lump
Nobody
sum.
does the rehab. No.
Really? Why?
Because it's complicated. You have to submit a plan, and then you got to prove all the elements of your plan, right? The only time I've ever done it was for a nurse. She lost her certifications. She petitioned the court for $10,000 to get recertified and to do the updates and all that.
Yeah.
We put a plan together. We put it together and got it approved. So that wasn't a big deal. That one was a straightforward one because we had a goal. Because once she became her registered nurse again,
she could go get a job again.
She was making $80,000, $90,000 a year. So there wouldn't be an alimony. This wasn't a durational type of case.
It wasn't permanent alimony.
But most people
there's no more permanent.
Ever? Anywhere?
No more.
I love that for us.
What? Why?
Who's us?
People in general,
both of you
society.
What's going on here?
Listen,
I love this for society in general.
Okay, well, like I was saying, so there's different types of alimony. Bridge the gap, which is
But you're saying most people want a lump sum?
They do durational. That is the most common.
Okay, no, let's.
You're gonna give me $20,000 a month for the next 5 years, duration.
Yes.
Okay, no, I want to hear all the different kinds because then we wanted to. So there's durational alimony.
Right.
There's permanent alimony.
Well, let's do the weird ones first. So bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap.
Which is to cover from the transition from being married to being single, right?
Oh.
So for you to be able to get your house.
Go find yourself in India and that kind of bullshit.
I don't know about all that, but certainly to be able to...
Eat, love, pray, that shit. Okay, keep going.
He's like, Padrón is like, no, my client's not paying for it. Okay. That's your fucking problem.
Because alimony is disfavored because most households, it originally came up with when there was a single income home.
Sure.
You had a guy.
Again, 1950s version of marriage,
we're working, mom's at home, taking care of the kids. Like that's a full-time job too. So the law recognizes
working husband, stay-at-home mom,
that is
multiple kids. Yeah, very 19.
Yeah. Like
La renta está cara.
La renta está cara.
Struggle is real. Struggle is real.
Hashtag.
So everyone has to work, and since everyone has to work. It is, and you don't see the kind of dependency that you used to see. When I first started doing it, I would see cases of people who have been married for 20, 30 years, and they come and get divorced, and that lady at 50 years old cannot.
Yeah.
Earn anywhere near what her husband has earned after developing a career for 30 years, right? So, like, you have to compensate that, but that's not the case anymore.
The pay disparity.
So the law has changed because it's been disfavored a lot. Because you get cases like, for example, you've been together with somebody for 10 years, right?
I don't know that it's not the same. I think we've evolved somewhat, but it's not 100%.
I can assure you, the ones that are doing that are not in Miami-Dade County because you could not survive. That is something that I see when I go to St. Lucie, when I go up there to Jacksonville.
Wait, what are we talking about? Like stay-at-home moms?
Stay-at-home moms.
Oh, in Miami. Oh, you're saying in Miami te jodiste. Todo el mundo trabajar.
Hasta los niños tienen que trabajar.
Hasta los niños tienen que trabajar.
That's right.
Abuelita también to live in the back.
We've lost the English-speaking audience now. We've lost the English-speaking audience.
Everyone needs to work is the bottom line. Even the children, right?
Even the children.
It's bad. And that's the thing. It's not really applicable, so you don't see it so often in different cases. And it really is more offensive on the 10-year marriages than it is on the long-term marriages. Because the long-term marriages were back when things were different, right?
Yeah.
The 10-year marriages, you've been together with somebody, say you were making $300,000-$400,000, right? And then your spouse didn't contribute at all during the marriage, right? Now that person gets an alimony. Why? Because what did they contribute? Did you have kids? Were you
clean the dog's paws? I recognize that there's value in not washing a dish in over 4 years.
The equity. Does it feel right? Should that person get paid because they didn't do anything with their life for 10 years? Right?
I mean, I would have had to have a very sophisticated live-in cleaning lady and house manager and someone to drive my dogs to the fucking vet and all these other things.
He says, I guess.
I mean, you're telling me you don't see value in that?
Pledge agreements. Good luck selling that to a judge. It's not looking good. It's not looking good.
I mean, with all due respect, it's the same argument that housewives made forever, right? Like that there's some value in the support they provided.
Right, no, 100%. Like, if you have the economic partnership and you did that division of labor, it's absolutely something that's appropriate.
Wait, are we saying that the fact that there's no kids in this is what would shift maybe some of this
I think it's more offensive when there is a person that's not working, that's just a stay-at-home person.
A stay-at-home husband.
No, but not even that, because I've done cases where there's a cleaning lady, there's a driver, and that person is at home doing nothing.
Yeah, they're hanging out and hanging out. That's what they're doing at home.
And that's a case where you would do an unequal distribution. You would look under certain case law. You could say, well, I can think of one case.
Whoa. We're back to the equitable distribution.
Because you can make these arguments everywhere, right?
No.
You can ask for unequal distribution. There used to be...
because... No.
They didn't contribute. There was one
distribution. Because you a bump on a log, dude.
No, bro. But no, hold on. Because this is... Hold on. I say that because now I'm offended. Like, I don't even know why.
Oh, now you're
offended.
Now
I'm offended. Like, but hold on. You put up with that fucking loser. If Des did not work and didn't have any children and no dogs or nothing, right? And you put up with her for 12 years and now you're going to try to say unequal distribution because they never contributed to the marriage? That's your fucking problem.
Well, you'd be surprised. The ones that won a lot of those cases were women, actually. Because if you ever think that a man doesn't like to pay, the one that likes to pay less is the women. Right? You will never see a more upset person than
Absolutely.
A wife.
Absolutely. Oh, no. 100%. Okay? Oh, no, I'll kill you.
The husband.
I'll fucking kill you. Like,
in one of those cases, though, they found that the husband remained essentially idle, drinking large quantities of beer. It's in the opinion.
Large quantities of what?
Of beer.
So tell me about that, though. You mentioned that. So they eliminated permanent alimony. When was this?
July 1st of 2023.
And why?
It's been, again...
So if you're a bump on a log, bro, you can't be on my payroll forever.
Largely disfavored. Because, again, the circumstances for a permanent award were really hard to prove. And then when you get them, it's very, very difficult to undo them. And people didn't find them fair. Yeah. Because I was together with you for 20 years. Now for the rest of your life, I mean, I didn't sign up for that. Neither did, like, I'm going to be taking care of you forever.
Oh, but you did.
Indeed. Now, again, remember, what goes around comes around.
Alina's like you, but you did.
So again,
that's exactly what you fucking signed up for.
Right. Let me remind you.
In sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth, my friend. That's how that shit goes.
Right, rhymes.
That was on purpose.
You can, again, there was a presumption against permanent alimony unless there was if there was any other form of alimony that would be appropriate to do justice between the parties. So it was tough to get it, right? Even though you were married 30, 40 years, also remember, go back to the need and ability analysis, right? So you can have the most need in your world, but if your man is making 50 grand, I'm sorry, that doesn't cut the mustard, right? But you'd be surprised, they do mental gymnastics, and then you go ahead and you do some funky math, and then this guy's paying $1,000 a month, right? And you're like, wow, that's like 30% or 40% of your income. Another thing was...
Wait. Does alimony even come into play when people are not that wealthy?
You would think it wouldn't.
No, I would absolutely think it wouldn't. I mean, if somebody's making 60... What alimony? What the fuck are we talking about right now? I can barely pay rent in Miami.
It's true, but you'd be surprised.
Your ass better move to fucking, like, West Coast somewhere.
You stick it all in the petition, and then you have to deal with it, right? And then people get bullied into doing it because they run out of money. And then... to defend yourself, you would need a forensic account. Say you have a small business, right, and the business makes $400,000 a year. You're like, he makes $400,000 a year. No, it doesn't. There's expenses, there's cost of goods, there's all these different things that you need to take out. But for me to defend that case, I need a forensic accountant to come and do the analysis and tell me what are the add backs, because everyone pays like their mortgage and like their car.
Add backs.
Yeah.
Add backs.
I like that.
Right. So you add that back because that's not a proper deduction. You're only allowed to deduct all the expenses reasonably necessary to generate the income. Not what the IRS lets you do. Depreciation, you're not doing that, right? Not in an income analysis. No.
Interesting.
Right. And then there's other tax concerns when you sell big properties. For example, if it's over $500,000, you're going to get the long-term capital gains because you're above the cutoff, right? The $500,000 cutoff. So
the exclusion.
You need an accountant. So now you're looking at $12 grand to defend your $400,000 a year business that gives you $100,000 clean, right?
Wow.
So people give up and they're like, "How much do you want, bro?" Just make it stop.
What do you want?
Make it
How
stop.
much will it cost me to get you the fuck out my life?
That's right. And there's a price. There's a price to peace.
There's a price.
There's a price to peace.
Oh, is that what you tell your clients?
No.
There's a price to peace. I like that.
I like to fight all the way to trial. Right?
I feel like if this episode is going to be named, that's the name. There's a price to peace.
No. His favorite thing to tell people is set it for trial. I remember that. Set it for trial. Like everything is set it for trial. Why are we arguing about this?
Put it up. Put up or shut up. It's not what happens when you can prove. Show me what you did. What do you got? You got some proof? And you'd be surprised. They can't.
So the person, the other spouse that has not made any money, because I see need and ability to pay. Right. I'm not hearing anything about the other person's, I guess that's what you were talking about. It gets imputed.
It gets imputed. But to impute it, you have to show that it's something that they earned before, firstly. Secondly, that they did it for the purposes of making themselves poor to be able to get the alimony.
No, but they didn't do it.
Right.
They're just... whatever.
It's not enough to say voluntary underemployment. You have to show an intentional.
Like I'm not working so that I can hit you up for alimony. How are you supposed to show that?
It's why
you would never fucking show that.
You can't show that. I mean,
again, it's
has
family
to be super
court.
obvious.
So family court. No, I had one that that lady that we talked about that was going to be the nurse, right? In the middle of it, she decides that she gets her license and she quits, and she's now a parkour instructor.
Okay.
Right? A parkour instructor.
¿Qué coño es eso?
Jumping and flipping, like. Street acrobatics, for lack of a better word, right? So she was making $12
Is this a job? This is not a job, guys.
100%. And
she's employed.
Wait, what is this called?
Parkour.
I thought he was saying like a parking. I was like, she's ballet.
Have you seen The Office?
Una parqueadora.
Have you seen The Office?
No.
Steve Carell, he jumps around the office and goes, parkour. And it's flipping off of like sidewalks and grinding off of things. Right? Like
this is like a real
thing,
job.
Bro. I don't know what to tell you. I've never taken a class. I'm not vouching for the efficacy of this workout program, right?
This is like a fitness thing.
It's a fitness thing. It's like people that rollerblade, right?
She quit her nursing job.
Yeah.
Her fucking RN licensed nursing job.
It's worse. She didn't get the job. She got recertified and said, I'm in love with my trainer. I'm going to be a parkour instructor.
I'm in love with my trainer.
So in that case...
that case, your alimony ceases to exist.
Well,
no?
Again, he was making a lot of money.
Not unless they get married,
but the judge agreed with me that she did that on purpose, right? Because she went and got the certification, bro. And then you didn't go forward with it. You became a parkour instructor. That's what you did. The court can't tell you what to do, I'm going to make you, like, if you make $80,000 as a nurse, right?
She found fulfillment.
Well, I mean, love is love, right?
Love is love.
Sometimes there's parkour instructors that,
I mean,
that's great.
You're going to live in a cardboard box.
You do that shit on your own time, bro.
I mean, you can find happiness in a cardboard box.
Well,
I'd rather find it at the Galapagos.
With your instructor.
But not if you're...
Not on my money. Not with my money, you're not going to find that.
You know, money isn't everything, guys.
It's true.
We'd all rather cry in our Mercedes, but money isn't everything.
It's a lot of things. Don't let her lie to you.
Daniel Tasha says, like, money doesn't buy happiness, but, it's hard to be sad, like, on a wave runner. He's like, have you ever tried to cry on a wave runner? You can't cry on a wave runner. Like, it's not possible.
Exactly.
Have you ever seen somebody upset on a wave runner? On a jet ski? Not once.
No.
Never. They don't exist.
That's right.
Agreed.
So going back, so we got that. The permanent alimony got outlawed.
That's right.
Banned, done.
Permanent's gone. You explained bridge the gap. So let's talk about what is rehabilitative is this thing with the nurse, right?
It's just basically a plan. I need to
that did not work, for the record.
What is durational? What is durational?
Durational is for a set period of time.
For a set period of time. And then
lump sum 20 G's for 2 years.
Right.
Lump sum is usually...
Here's some cash, get the fuck out.
Well, generally speaking, it's like, I want the house. So give me the house instead of paying me durational for a certain amount of time. I'm going to take it all up front. I'm going to take it in this. You take a haircut on the amount because time value of money, obviously. Money now is better than in the future. What if he loses his job tomorrow? What if he gets hit by a bus, which happened to me in one of my cases, by the way.
Wow.
Bad luck. It was I was divorcing a 96-year-old man.
No.
And his wife was 60-something. And I had the pleasure of calling opposing counsel. Not the pleasure, but it was an awkward situation, right? And I'm like, hey, I call her up. Your client died. She got hit by a bus. And he's like, no way your client died before my client died before yours.
Oh, the 60-year-old
Mine is 96. She was like stalling it to see if he would, kick the bucket.
Yeah, right? That's a strategy I think you should employ.
Wow. So she got hit by a bus. So it failed. Right. So in that case,
did not work.
Oh man.
So in that case, you end up dismissing the case. So in case you ever wondered, what happens if one of the people getting divorced dies? Unless you bifurcate it before the person passed away, the case is dismissed.
Because the party that's still...
So they're still married.
Well, I was about to say the person who passed away gets everything, no?
Yep. No, the one that passed away...
I'm sorry, the person who survives gets everything by default.
100%.
Even if this was a terrible divorce that had been going on for 10 years.
But that's something more for you guys with respect to...
No, you guys is too many people. Look over there.
In intestate succession.
In my immigration world, none of that fucking matters.
Half bloods get half as much, all that stuff, right? This elective share.
It's fantastic.
I like this concept of
add backs.
Add backs. I wrote that down.
It's frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Well, what's interesting?
Wait. What's frustrating? Tell me.
Well, it's tedious.
Because you got to tell people, you don't get to take 100% deduction on your vehicle. That's your only vehicle. Like, you use that for fun. You use it to go out on the weekends. No, but I use it for work too, right? Sure. Or I went on a vacation. Right, and I talked to somebody over the phone, so I want to deduct the whole vacation. Right, like it's frustrating because it's a lot of discovery, and the only way to prove that is to go through all.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, this seems like tedious. Factual litigation is expensive.
But you can absolutely argue some of this shit. Like, I mean, listen, yes, I use my car for everything, but I definitely drive to and from work more than I use it than anything else. Like, it's not 2050.
Sure.
Like, this is,
they'll figure out a very nice percentage of what percentage.
I was about to say, it's not a yes or no. Like, it's a percentage, right?
It's a forensic accountant that's going to charge you a lot of money to tell you, wow, like 30% or 40%. And then I had him, back when Ike was in, Judge Ike was in family, I had a forensic that I was like, I just got to, because everything was made up. Like, so it was frustrating. because he didn't have any support. He's like, based on my experience, this is what I think should be an appropriate business deduction. And I asked him, I'm like, how many miles is it from his house to the business? And he's like, I don't know. How many clients does he visit on a daily basis? I don't know. Did you look at any schedules? Did you look at any memos with respect to his outings?
Yeah, to figure it out.
So how did you come up with this figure? My age and experience.
My age and experience.
Right, I've done this
Excellent.
for 20-something years. All these years, I'm like,
Bravo.
and then you gotta look at a judge and be like, yeah, and he's like, that sounds reasonable. It's like, what do you get mad? And then nobody wants to do the appeal.
So what happens? What happens with the Louis Vuittons? Like, do we fight over them just like their property too?
They're worth more than the dogs, babe. I'll tell you that right now. Right now.
My wife has a collection. It's frustrating. I tell her, your wallet or your purse should never be worth more what you have inside that purse, right? Like, and she's like, shut up. I didn't ask your opinion. Buy me the next purse. This one has a cute little strap with a chain, and the L turns sideways, right?
And you don't know Des, but Des is this cute little thing. Who I can absolutely see if there's going to be domestic violence one day, and she beat him up. Like, she fucking beat him up.
She's funny. I say in Spanish, I go, you know what, she's so grumpy? Porque el genio está concentrado. So in English, for the English listeners, is she's so grumpy because all the anger is concentrated.
Because she's little.
She's 4'10".
She's tiny.
Oh.
I tried to convince her to put in for disability parking. I think she won't do it, right? So we can park up front. She won't do it. She's like, how dare you?
How dare you say that to me?
That's a great point. How short you gotta be, I guess.
I believe it's 4'10". That's the cutoff.
I'm like, my sister's 4'11", man.
4'10". I'm like, I'm gonna park up front. Everywhere we go.
Well, you know, I wouldn't use it for the handicap spots, but fuck those meters, man.
Yeah.
Fuck those meters. That's just paying the government for no reason.
But
fuck
everywhere,
those meters.
you know, the handicaps don't have meters, right? Like you can't like.
Oh, but you can park in a regular meter, and as long as you have a handicap symbol, like
really?
It doesn't matter.
I didn't know.
You didn't know.
Oh,
yeah.
The law shit you should know.
The law shit you should know.
There you go.
Yeah, no. So you can park if you have a handicap placard. You can park anywhere because you don't have to pay the meter.
That's
So
right.
you don't have to take up a spot, like especially for people who are handicapped but aren't like a physical disability,
Right.
Or like it's a minimal physical disability. They don't need like a wheelchair. You don't really need the space to get the wheelchair out. So you shouldn't park in that spot. You can park in a regular spot, but you don't have to pay the meter.
But I didn't know that. That would be fantastic.
And then, like I
Then
said,
you don't have to feel guilty about
fuck the
taking
city of
somebody's-
Coral Gables. I am
No
fucking
more
paying them.
$65 tickets in Coral Gables, babe. Just get on with it.
But listen, I've tried this math, and let me tell you, I know it's a little outside the scope, but if you don't pay the meters like ever,
Right.
okay, the statistical percentages, by the time you get a ticket,
Free
which
job.
you will get one, you will get a ticket, but they're far enough apart that it's not worth paying the meters. I'm just, you heard it here first. I did this math.
I don't know.
I did this
I
math.
don't know. This might work anywhere outside of Coral Gables. These
Yeah,
people are mercenary.
Downtown.
I did this math.
I
did
used to
this
do
math.
it all the time.
Downtown.
Downtown, the tickets were $18, and
There
I
you
was
go.
like, and I had to pay for the whole day and re-up on the
In
meter
Coral
and the
Gables,
phone.
they're like 36.
But they would never enforce it, especially if it rained. If it was raining, obviate. You're scot-free.
Ain't nobody standing in the rain
I
to
went
write
like-
your ass an $18 ticket. That ain't worth it.
So it was 16. No, but it was. I went for like 6 months without paying the parking. So I got one ticket. I'm like, worth it.
Worth
But,
it.
like,
That's
it's
what I'm
like,
saying.
You got me.
I agree. I agree. You know how much parking is at these damn places?
Well,
It's
but now
ridiculous.
the ticket went up to like I think it's like $40 or something.
It's
like
36. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah?
I could be wrong.
If you don't pay on time, it's like $65.
Yeah.
Coral Gables.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
and
you could fight it.
Wakada.
I-
You could fight
I
it.
went
You
to
can fight
fight
that you
one.
didn't pay it on time.
I fought a ticket once.
That you didn't pay on time.
No, I showed them
What
the
is your
thing.
excuse?
again.
Okay, that's another episode.
What?
We'll get. Never mind. Let me shut up.
Going back. So need and ability. So again, length of the marriage
Let
is
me tell myself
important,
to
right?
shut up.
Because again, obviously, shorter marriages, you less deserving of an alimony award.
What is
Longer.
short? What is short? Because let me tell you,
Okay.
I love my husband, but 12 years is a long time.
Yeah, mommy,
So-
I've been married with my wife now 17. going
So
on
I mean, you feel me? It's a long time, man.
Together 22.
It's a long
So,
time. That's a
it's
long
forever.
time. It ain't 50 years, but it's a long time. So when you say short and when you say long, what does the court mean by short? Like
Right.
in the perspective of family law court, right? What is
So before the statute changed, I think it was 7 years, and then up to 17 was the cutoff for the long term. Anything over
Okay.
17 was long term.
Okay.
17 to
Coño,
7 was
Caballero,
moderate, and then
17
from 7
years is
short.
a long time.
okay?
Right.
So I'm in
that-
the moderate.
That's how
It's
it
a
used to
fucking
be.
lifetime.
Okay.
That's how it used to be.
Used to be.
Right, when you had permanent alimony and the
Sure.
sky was the limit. More than 50% of the person's disposable income was too much. That was the only rule we had back then. So that's why we needed to revise it, because every other state has revised it, and we had been putting it on the ballot a number of times every year, and nothing. Until last year. Last year it got through, and it was good. So now, short-term marriages now are 10 years. Up to 10 years is short-term.
That's short?
Yeah. And then...
Coño, pero hay que tener un poquito de aguante if you want some benefits,
10
okay?
years is a long time.
Right, but there's wrinkles that makes it better. So watch.
That makes it better.
Yes. So if you're married up to 3 years, there's a presumption against alimony. So the burden becomes that of the person trying to move for it, right? And then beyond 3 years, but less than 10, it is alimony. It's in play, right? There's no presumption against it or for it.
At least some of these rehabilitative, duration, or whatever. Okay.
Right. And then from 10 to 20, and then beyond 20 is long term, right? So, and what changes, it's still limited to now we have a guideline, right? Which is 35% of the difference between the net incomes of the parties. That is the maximum you can get.
35%
of the difference. So you make 10,000, they make 3,000. We do the difference would be 5,000. Multiply that times 0.35, 35%. That is your maximum monthly alimony award.
Oh, interesting.
So it's an easier way to figure out, like, this is what you're looking at. Because before it's like, well, you know, more than 50 is too much. Right? Like,
no shit, more than 50 is too much, bro.
Because again, there was this whole trend back in the day to try to equalize the incomes, and then the court says you're not supposed to do that. It's need and ability. What do you need, and what's the ability to pay that need, right? And the judges were like, well, we're just going to equalize the incomes because it makes sense. It's easier mathematically to do.
But you have to have both things, right? Not just the need or the ability. You have to have both. Because you can have all the ability.
That happens a lot, actually, yeah.
I mean, full circle back to pledge agreements, right? Ability is absolutely there. But
and he makes no money. There's great need.
So there's great need. Like if we were to divorce tomorrow, right? This analysis,
exactly.
Right?
Well, thankfully, in most cases, there's a lot of need and no ability. So everybody needs, right?
Everybody needs, baby. True. This is true.
Times are tough, man.
So I keep hearing this from you.
Well, it's just what you see what people are dealing with. Again, and you haven't even done any children's issues or any of that other stuff that it's like, I need a psychologist and I need a therapist for this and supervise that and evaluation por acá.
And who paid for the fucking soccer practice and who paid for the...
Daycare, in case you guys are wondering, right, is a mortgage payment, right? Like,
fuck
it's ridiculous.
My dog's daycare used to be a fucking mortgage payment. Back in
It's a dog's daycare.
They don't go to daycare anymore because he's a house husband now. But before he was a house husband, those dogs went to daycare.
And all that,
doggy daycare.
Because they couldn't stay home by themselves.
No, they have anxiety.
Oh, they have anxiety.
Let me ask you, do you have a stroller?
Fucking yeah,
I do not.
My brother's ex had a stroller. And I was just looking at him and like,
my mom's got it. I bought my mom a stroller for hers.
She has shoes, little water shoes. So
I've tried those, but they get upset and they don't understand them.
They walk confused.
Yeah, they get confused.
What have you done to me?
They don't understand the shoes. They get very upset. I tried once.
I'm a doggy daddy. I spend all day with my dog. All day long. I take her out. I talk to her like a person. She wheezes.
Those things love you unconditionally.
She wheezes because she's ugly ass dogs. Don't even breathe right.
She can't breathe right.
Those animals love you unconditionally until the day they die, dude. Children are not that thankful.
Oh no, they're not. They're definitely not.
Children are just not that thankful. And she looks at you and her eyes are all popping out. Because it's a Frenchie, right?
Does she drool?
No, she doesn't drool.
Oh, thank God.
She doesn't drool. When I'm mad at her, I call her Voldemort because she got no nose. She's like, where's your nose, bro? You don't have a nose. She tries to bite you and she can't. She's like, oh. Because she's got no beak, bro. She's got no nose.
This is like a defective dog. Like,
so I call her an abomination.
I don't even understand.
I love her to death, but she's an abomination.
I don't understand.
She jumps in the pool because she got real adventurous, and she's like, I'm jumping in the pool, and then she starts swimming, and then slowly sinking. Slowly sinking. Like,
I feel like this is a classic clip for this podcast with all three of us pretending
this podcast is off the rails.
Swim with the dog.
What is happening here?
So, yeah, I mean, but people are very, very touchy about their animals, and like I said, it's a thing. We deal with it. The judges don't really have much humor for it, right?
The judges do not have the patience for this nonsense.
Like, I'm fighting about kids and dealing with people's houses and stuff. You want to talk about a dog? Like, there's more important uses for my time.
It depends who you ask, though. Not gonna lie. It depends who you ask.
Not the judges, apparently. No. Don't ask the judges.
They don't. I mean,
okay, back to the actually. No, forget alimony.
Fuck alimony. Leslie's done with the
alimony. No, I'm not done with the alimony. But back to, because we talked, and actually I thought one of the most interesting things that you told me about, we were talking about bringing you onto this podcast, aside from the fact that he's running for judge, everybody vote Judge Chris Padrón. On what day? What day do we vote for this? I have no idea.
We'll tag you and shit. Don't worry.
August 20.
That's the election, yeah.
Okay.
It's a primary.
Random day. Okay. In the middle of summer vacation.
This is Florida.
All right.
Whatever.
All right.
August
they don't
20.
want you to have a good turnout, apparently, or else they change that date.
But isn't it like a yes or no vote in Florida? Oh no, because it's the first time. You're right.
If you ask most people, it's an eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Right. Well, the retention vote is the yes or no vote.
Yes.
Yeah, the retention vote.
For the superior.
But if there's nobody running against you, who cares if everybody votes no? ¿Qué pasa?
No, that's it. You automatically.
Yes or no doesn't matter. Like your state.
Qualifying is actually April 26th. So if you don't have an opposition, you won. Right?
Yay!
And I think there's only 3 races that are opposed. It's Jason Block and Peabody.
Jason Block, is this poor guy always running opposed?
He's been running.
I feel like this is from back in the day. He's always running opposed to somebody.
He's run 3 times, I think, in the last 3 cycles. I think is when he's run.
I'm not in this world, but I remember that name.
Wait. So you lost your train of thought. So other than the fact that he's running for judge, which you want everyone to know and vote
for.
You were going to say something after that.
Dr. Padrón.
We'll tag your vote things and all that jazz.
There's a lot of stuff
down here somewhere
in the domestic violence world, right? And first, I think for those of us that do not practice family and do not understand any of this, right? Let's say Des gets really angry. You didn't buy her new Louis Vuitton.
Well, she told you that anger was concentrated.
Oh yeah,
right?
Like she knocks you. Somebody calls. I don't know who calls, the police, whatever. So they come, and what do? They separate you. Somebody's got to go. Does everybody get arrested? How does this usually work out?
So there's criminal and civil domestic violence.
So,
and now there's
it's not all criminal.
No. And then there's risk protection orders. That's a new thing that came out.
Pero what is a civil domestic violence?
A restraining order. So anybody can go file a restraining order. The law says that you can go to any courthouse. They can't charge you for it. There's no filing fees. They have a dedicated crew of people to help you file your restraining order. And that's it. And then the judge will review it, and if it presents a prima facie case of domestic violence under one of the many statutes, usually 741.30, which is domestic violence. We live together, we're related by blood or marriage, and there was an incident of violence.
For anyone who doesn't know what prima facie means, he means like the base requirements on a very, very basic level under the law. If you check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you preliminarily.
Oh, so if I go hit my sister, that's domestic violence as opposed to just a regular assault.
It would be a regular battery if you actually get it, right? So, but do
you live together?
Again, related by blood or marriage, or living in the same place.
Or it's an or.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an or.
It's not and.
I thought it was an and.
No, because you could be complete strangers and you're living together as family, like friends and family or whatever.
No, right. I just assumed the other one was that you can't be family and you would have to be family and live together, not just like you went and beat up your sister at her house and then left. That's still domestic violence.
No, because think about it. If you're
how is that domestic violence?
If you're not married with your husband, but you're living together and you have a kid and he hits your kid,
right.
You can get a restraining order against him because he lives with you, but you're not related by blood, right? And you're not family, right? So these are things that happen. So related by blood or marriage or living together is generally the rule, right? And that's your standard 741.30, right? That's the assault, aggravated assault, battery, aggravated battery, sexual assault, sexual battery, aggravated sexual assault, aggravated sexual battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, or any other crime that results in physical injury or death, right? Like 741.20 is the definition. So
and doesn't include emotional injury?
Or no. Emotional, no. Again, there's actually a lot of case law that says that mere disagreeable conduct.
Psychological abuse.
Disagreeable conduct.
Yeah, real.
I take issue here.
Of course she does.
I take issue here. There is such a thing as psychological abuse. So there's no protection under family law for psychological abuse?
Not for psychological abuse. If you want to allege psychological abuse, it would be under Chapter 39 for something like against a child, right? Because adults, again, it's like the whole
As adults, go fucking somewhere else. Go live with your mama.
This is so fucked. No, so
that's
I got problems here. I need to talk about this some more.
There's more.
There's more.
There's more. It's
there's more.
Read carefully and read on. Right? So there's a part that will catch what you're talking about, right? It's called the reasonable fear. So you have all that. You either been a victim or you have the reasonable fear that you're going to become a victim of domestic violence. It's such that you need an injunction, right?
But it's more than just Des is mean to him, bro.
Right.
But there's so much more. Okay, y'all have a very simple. I'm sorry, Des is mean to. Fuck Des being mean to him. That's a very simplified, very simplified version of psychological abuse. Okay, so psychological abuse absolutely exists in my world, and here's why my comparison is so different. What you're saying just doesn't mesh with my brain at all. Because I file what we call VAWA applications, self-filing violence against women, right? Which includes men. By the way, my office files more male VAWA cases than female ones at this point in time. Okay. But where I'm going with this is that sure, yeah, you know, you hit me, you rape me, sexually assault me, all these things are obviously domestic violence. But there is absolutely psychological violence that could happen that never results in someone lifting their finger. So picture it from my perspective. I'm an immigration attorney.
But with VAWA, they're holding you basically hostage because
well,
if you leave,
I was about to say, let me give you a classic example in the world that I live in is, hey, Chris, we're doing it this way, and if you don't do what I say, I ain't giving you papers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when there's not that threat or leverage of papers,
then there's the threat of, I'm going to kill your kid.
No,
I'm going to kill your dog.
But that goes back to the fear of harm.
Fear of harm.
Not just psychological, whatever.
But who says that fear of harm is reasonable?
So, that's exactly right. It's an objective
standard.
That's
my point, you know? Like,
but it's one thing to say, for example, I'm going to kill you, watch yourself, right?
Uh-huh. Sure, that's an actual threat.
On the phone and you're in some other place, right? That is not a threat. That is a threat. Again, assault has to have the apparent ability to carry out that threat. Yeah. So I'm going to hurt you on Tuesday is not an assault, right? But if you have a bunch of those, right? That's harassment. That's that acrimony, right? The judge may feel that you're reasonable if that's coupled with any small overt action, punching a hole in a wall. That's
what
not
if
a battery.
There's nothing physical?
That's
not
physical.
You know, you've seen
you're
the power.
You punched a wall. People do that. Men do that all the time. Punch holes in walls and doors. And then I was just mad. I punched the door. I'm like, yeah, you don't see how people can be afraid. The fact that you punched a hole in the wall.
Dude, it's not just that. Like, I feel like I could go an hour on this. There's a million different things, all of which appear if you go look up like the power and control wheel, right? I'm sure you've looked at this before. Yeah. And there's a million things on the power and control wheel, like hurting pets. Controlling your finances, you know, controlling important paperwork.
That's on the list.
But those are all psychological abuse.
But it's something that would give a reasonable person fear that they were going to become a victim of domestic violence. If they came and kicked
controlling controlling who you hang out with, controlling what you can do, keeping you from going to work, keeping you from family members.
If somebody doesn't have that kind of leverage over you, you need to fucking leave this whatever piece of shit that you're dating or with or whatever.
We can all agree to that. But if you're anyone who's ever worked with domestic violence, like true domestic violence victims, which I have, and it sounds like Chris says as well, that is not, you don't sit with someone and go, bitch, you need to get out, and they listen. So
you're going to go file restraining orders and injunctions?
That's the opposite of how domestic violence works. If that were the case, they would just walk away. Like that's
no, but then we're back to the same thing. You get an injunction, you get a restraining order. It's the same. You're reaching the same point.
The problem is that a lot of women will claim emotional abuse or emotional like psychological abuse, and it's not. He called me names, right? Whatever.
Like this is a criminal.
Like I can show you the ones that I've
for
done.
the record, I think it happens just as much with men. Let me pause you and add that, but
the ones that I see more are usually in the context of advantage in domestic violence in divorce, right? Because you file a DV, you automatically get possession of the house, you automatically get possession of the children. And then the judges
You're saying they use it for leverage.
They use it.
So what do you need to prove?
Get an advantage to kick them out. If I had to do an exclusive use and possession hearing, I have to show that not only I have the ability to pay for it, or I have to prove some semblance of alimony, right? I have a need and he has the ability to pay, and he can go live somewhere else. He can pay both houses, right? I have to do that complicated presentation. I can just file it prima facie, just make the allegations. A hits. I am A. B hit me in the face with a open hand, and I suffered damages. I got hurt, right? That's it. I put that on there, whether it's true or not, whether I can prove it or not, doesn't make a difference. I got the house. I get the injunction. I get possession of the children. They'll have a case management conference for 15 minutes. Then we'll set a special set. And until that injunction is not resolved, you're not seeing your kids. You'll get supervised time sharing if you maybe. So that's what you usually see. You see it in that dynamic that there's no real violence.
What is that timeline? Between initial whatever and the
you're supposed to have it all resolved within 15 days. That's what.
Yeah, I was about to say
15 days.
It's pretty damn quick.
Oh wow!
But ask me how many times it gets resolved in the first hearing.
I mean, I see those injunctions go away all the time
when they're pro se's and they don't show up, right? Or they show up and the judge wants to hold it, but they said 20 of these things at the same time.
I see them get thrown out all the time.
I'm assuming this is an evidentiary hearing. People come to testify. I saw him.
It gets noticed for trial.
Whatever.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of victims don't have evidence too. right?
Yeah, and a lot of
no, but evidence. I mean, like you, the
a lot of
spouse get up there and say, "This is what he did to me," and then judge.
Yeah, but it's a he said, she said.
Right, but again, and it's a preponderance of an evidence standard, so that means that you have to prove the likelihood of that you were the victim, right? 50.00001% more likely that your version of the truth is the truth versus the other person's version, right? And since you're the proponent, and it's not hard to get an injunction, I win all the ones that I do, right? Like it's very, very straightforward. If you're an abuser, you're an abuser, and it's easy to find different things, text messages.
I was gonna say
emails. You have
that
other
personality
witnesses.
doesn't seem to be able to hold back well.
Now, again, when you were talking about with people that are actually domestic violence victims, I've dealt with several of them, and people that have battered women syndrome.
Yeah.
These are women that cannot look you in the eye. Like I'm her attorney. She's sitting in front of me, and we're gonna go forward. I'm being overly aggressive because, of course, that's the way I am, right? I'm gonna go, and we're gonna get this guy out of your life and all that, and then she's like looking down, like she's soft spoken, willing to accept whatever he would propose. And I had to talk her, and then there's a lot of good programs for women that are actual victims like that.
There's a lot of really great programs.
They come in with you, they hold your hand. There's advocates, there's shelters, so there's a lot of resources. But yeah, generally speaking, we're talking about women being abused as victims, even though there's a lot of men that do it too, that are victims, because again, statistically, it's 80% like men beating on women, right? And men, it's not more. In my mind, because men don't report. Like if you slap somebody in their face,
100%.
That person is not going to the police.
That's kind of the point I was making, which is from my end, we do more domestic violence cases for men than women, but most of those conversations are them sitting in our office, us asking questions and realizing that they absolutely have a case. It's just they don't even think of themselves that way. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll pull out the power and control wheel we were just talking about. For anyone listening, you can Google that. The power and control wheel, and it literally just has a list of shit on it, like examples of types of domestic violence. And the list is like controlling your finances, using derogatory slurs to talk to you, or embarrassing you in front of friends, and again, none of these are like I punched you in the face, which is obvious. But when you put all these things together, like you're absolutely messing with someone's psyche. Like absolutely you are. Yeah, and I have these conversations, and my clients will sit there. My clients will sit there like, oh fuck, she does that. Oh fuck, she does that too. Like, and by the end of this conversation, we have 10 bullets that are like, oh, fuck,
For sure. But we're talking about two different things here.
And then I have to convince people they need to go to fucking therapy because that's what they should be doing.
Right. But this is all ultimately for some type of immigration here. Now, with this, we're talking about crime.
But listen,
we're talking about somebody going to jail.
Listen.
Because I controlled who your friends are, and I controlled your money and whatever.
I get what you're saying.
Leave him. I mean, and if you can't, then we're not talking about domestic violence.
It's hard for victims that are real, like, again, have chronic domestic violence. But again, thankfully, it's a very small percentage. Most of these things are, there's no history of domestic violence. She comes in or he comes in and they catch him being like, with somebody else and whatever, and there's one blow up, right?
Jesus.
There's one deal.
They threw the phone across the room, smashed it into pieces.
Who are you calling? They grab the phone, they smash the phone.
Lord.
That could be a felony.
It's true, Maria.
Who she was calling, right? But
it wasn't me.
But these are the kind of things. It's a one-time incident. That's usually what it's
Cue Shaggy.
So wait, in this, hearing, 15 days. Let's say we believe because 50.0001, let's play it safe. Everybody has, an injunction now, a restraining order now?
It's not mutual. It's prohibited by law to do mutual injunctions. You have to grant each one on the merits of each one. So a lot of times you'll see reciprocal injunctions entered, right? But it doesn't change what the time sharing happens. So, for example, one obvious question would be like, she got an injunction, but it turns out that day she scratched me in my face, right? Because that's a common one.
You got to go get an injunction now too?
You file your injunction.
Correct.
You'll get an injunction
I've had many clients do this, file cross injunctions.
And then you end up having the first person gets the kids, the second one doesn't, right? The first one gets the house, the second one doesn't. So it's a race to the courthouse. So again, not that it's perfect. Again, the problem I have with what you're suggesting with the emotional part of it, it's already tough and overly abused now, right? Again, and it does play a huge role. Because think about it, you get an injunction, a lot of times you have to report to your professional boards. Like if you're an attorney, you have to report to the bar, right? If you're a doctor, you lose your license, you lose your livelihood. So these are big stakes cases. Decided on preponderance of the evidence, right? It's again, and if you win an injunction, perhaps on behalf of a child, for example, it's tantamount to a parental termination of rights. Like you don't get any more time sharing. You have to earn your rights back, and to terminate rights now, you have to prove by clear and convincing evidence. So
wait, you're talking about after that 15-day hearing?
Yeah. So Normally, you'll get the 15-day hearing. It's the first time up. You don't go to trial that day. It's 20 other people, right? It's a zoo. Everyone's waiting. They bring you in. Okay, how much time do you think you need? They both speak Spanish. We need an hour. We need 2 hours, whatever. And they set a date, right? Then you come back on that date. If they hire another attorney, they're going to ask you for another continuance. So there goes another month or another month after that. So you'll have like 4 or 5 months where you don't see your kids. You're paying for this house. You don't have access to your things. You don't have access to your clothes. The judge is very, very protective of the victims, so they don't allow you to go there unless you go in with law enforcement to get your clothes. Again, it's a lot of back and forth.
So time sharing does not commence even supervised or
you can ask for
with
it. A
middle person.
A lot of the judges are hesitant to give you supervised. They'll give you supervised here in family court services, which is about an hour if you're lucky, right? Or if you have means, you can go through like FACES, which is a private entity that does supervised time sharing, co-parenting classes, things like that. So it becomes like a task, right? And then everything that has to go on in the family case gets on pause until you resolve your domestic violence injunction. I had one that we recently got dismissed. We were representing the husband, and it was a setup. It was a complete setup. The lady was having her friends stay on Zoom and was turning off the monitor so all the friends could see. And she would bait him into getting into an argument. He'd get into an argument, and then in one of those things, she was on Zoom, and he comes out in underwear. Right? And he freaks out and he turns off her phone and he goes to turn off the monitor because he's in his underwear in his house. And then she testified to the judge that it was like, I was afraid, so that's why I had all my friends here to keep me company and watch. No, she wanted an audience, so she had 6 other witnesses to come in there and testify. Never, not one history, not one incident of domestic violence. So this is my view of the world. Like, I see it get abused a lot. Like, if you're a victim, you're a victim. 100%. Nobody supports domestic violence. But what I see it turn into is that this is what I'm going to use to take all the things that I want away from you because I couldn't do it otherwise. Like, that lady, I think, is a teacher, and the other guy had his own business, but it was like an IT thing, so they were making like 40, 50 grand each. Nobody has money for attorneys. So this is like an economical way of like, I got the house, I got the kids, you have to beg me to see them, you have to do all that stuff. And that's actually what our theory of the case was in that presentation. And the judge sided with us because it's like, it's clear. This wasn't something that rose to the level. There's no bruises, there's no scratches, there's no redness. The police were called, the police came and said, all right, I guess you guys should follow instructions, and then left.
To me, the most valid point of that story is at the end you prevailed because that's the whole purpose of our justice system is to weed out those abuses in the law, and I don't mean that as double entendre, but to weed out the people abusing the law and the system, and it sounds like you ultimately did despite all the hardship along the way. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of decreasing, shall we say, protections because one of these cases comes along every once in a while and fucks shit up.
I think for children, if you're going to do it on behalf of children, where there's a qualified a right to do corporal punishment, because that's still a thing in Florida. You can still hit your kids.
Oh, man, let's not talk corporal punishment.
But it's the law.
La chancleta.
We'll leave that for next time.
La chancleta.
This is the law in the state of Florida. But nonetheless, right, you have that qualified right. It's a qualified defense. Supreme Court here has interpreted it, right? You need something more, because if you're going to win a termination, again, you got to remember what's the level that we're dealing with. We're dealing with fundamental human rights, more than constitutional rights. The right to care and decide things for your kids. Most of us work for our kids. I mean, I know you guys have 4 kids, right? You know, dog, but
I mean, listen, I ain't hitting my dog.
He's got a whole soccer team.
I got 3 boys.
He's got a whole soccer team over there.
The only reason I put up with the craziness that I put up with is for them, right? So to put that at risk on something so trivial, such a low standard of 50.1%, I think is obnoxious. I think it really does a disservice to the children. You're depriving one parent of the other parent. And just because you fought with the other person doesn't mean you're going to do things to your children. There has to be something separate and apart. And again, unfortunately, it is tantamount to termination. A lot of judges, a lot of people don't like it. But again, it's something that is a taboo subject, because then you look like you're pro-domestic violence, right?
For the record, Judge Padrón is not pro-domestic violence.
But I do think that you need more. You need more.
This is not
it's true.
A campaign issue.
I've had conversations
that he's running on.
No. We can't run.
Okay, I think on that note, right. We're over time.
Vote for Padrón.
So, any final thoughts for our listening and viewing audience?
Family law is very complicated. Go contract a professional. Don't do it yourself. You have your life in your hands. If your kids really are important to you and your things are important to you, talk to somebody.
And put those kids to work.
That's right.
La renta está cara. You heard it here.
It's hard on these streets.
It's hard on these streets.
It's hard on these. I think for me, the lesson is if it doesn't bring you income, inspiration, or orgasm, then it doesn't belong in your life.
Wow.
Call yourself a good family law attorney.
Excellent.
And that is all for today's episode of Law Shit You Should Know. Join us again next time.